Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Science of Fallout series. Today we are covering the Stingwings. So this is a new flying enemy that was added in Fallout 4, and it does appear in Fallout 76 as well. So the Stingwings are based on the scorpion fly, which the picture you've got here is of a Panorpa communis, which is the one that's kind of native to Europe and Northern Asia. But the one that's most likely to be found in Massachusetts is Panorpa acuta. So they're part of the Mycoptera order of insects, and they are called scorpion flies because of this tail. So you can see the kind of long jaws and the long face. You've got these sort of fine wings, long antennae and legs, and then there's quite a large abdomen, and then you've got this tail at the end that looks like a scorpion's tail, so that obviously is where the name comes from. In real world scorpion flies, it's only the males of the species that possess this scorpion tail. So a few notes about their kind of biology. So both the larvae and the adults will feed on carrion, so that's basically dead animals. So they're kind of scavengers in that regard. They typically prefer to live in kind of woodland areas with damp leaf litter, so more kind of temperate parts of the world. And despite this scorpion-like tail that the males have, the real ones don't actually sting. They haven't got any venom. They don't have the ability to sting. But the tail gives them something called sexual dimorphism. So that's where there's a visible difference between males and females, like you see in some birds. Ducks are a good example. You've got the mallard duck where the male has a green head, and kind of different coloration, and the females are kind of brown and spotted on their feathers. So you do see that across a number of species where there's kind of visible differences. So the males have the scorpion tails and the females don't. And one of the important things that these insects play a role in is forensic entomology. So that is a branch of forensic science where if a body is found outside in the wilderness, in the woods, or whatever, then generally a lot of the time the presence or absence of certain insects can give a real indication as to how long that body's been there, how long the person has been deceased. With areas where these scorpion flies live, they tend to be one of the first to arrive at a cadaver, and they'll remain for 1 or 2 days. So if they are present, then that indicates that the body's only been there for up to 2 days. So it's a way of determining the kind of time of death and the time where the body was left there, essentially. Because all these insects, it's the same with kind of blowflies and various other insects, that their kind of life cycle and their behaviour and things is very, very predictable, and very standardised, and it is something that's studied quite extensively, so that they can use these things to kind of to work out the time of death, because that's then going to help them figure out if they're looking for witnesses, they've maybe seen somebody in the area at that specific time and they know the time frame that they're looking for. So that is the kind of main thing that these insects are kind of studied for. I say they can look quite intimidating with that scorpion tail, but in the real world they can't actually do any harm to you. However, the mutated version in the Wasteland is a different story, because they have evolved to be able to sting, and it appears that they've lost the sexual dimorphism, so now they all have the scorpion tails. They're capable of stinging and they're capable of producing venom, and they have become quite aggressive as well. So that's the scorpion fly that they're based on. So we're going to head into the Commonwealth and going to introduce you to a stingwing there. I had a lot of trouble finding some in the wild, so I've basically just used console commands to spawn one in, so that I could get a good look at it. You find them in the glowing sea quite a lot, but because of that kind of radioactive haze, it's hard to really kind of get a good look at them. So we'll head over there and we'll take a look at them and have a chat about what they're like in the wasteland, and how they behave and stuff. So we'll go there and we'll have a chat about things at that point. So let's take a look at the stingwing. I have been hunting the length and breadth of the Commonwealth trying to find some of these guys that, you know, I could get a better look at because the glowing sea is so murky and things, but I couldn't find any, so I've just used console commands to spawn it in, just to make life easier. But you can see that these guys originate from scorpion flies, and the reason for that is this tail with the stinger at the end that's very reminiscent of a scorpion. In the real world, the scorpion flies, only the male has this appendage, but it does seem that in the mutated versions that both male and females have the stinger, because there's no kind of visible difference between different stingwings. But we do find nests occasionally. They're quite common to find in the glowing sea, but you do apparently come across them in a couple of other places, but I have been struggling to find them. So I've just spawned this guy in to get a decent look. So they are insects, as you can see. We've got 3 pairs of legs, 6 legs, and you've got these compound eyes that are very, very typical, long antenna, a very, very large wings. That's actually hurting my eyes looking at that. And so because they tend to kind of hover. What is that? What you? Oh, it's a random injured rust devil. Never mind. Not my problem. So yeah, and then you've got sort of 2 pairs of mandibles, and then sort of short thorax, abdomen, and then this massive tail with a kind of double barbed stinger at the very end. And these guys have evolved a venom, and they employ kind of what I'd call drive-by tactics. So they kind of circle you and then fly in and attack and then fly away again, or they'll charge at you in single file and fly straight towards you. But they are quite fast and erratic, and because of their slim profiles they can be a wee bit tougher to hit without using VATs if you prefer not to use VATs. So it's quite a, like most of the kind of flying insects that you find in these games, they are most of them aren't too dangerous to you, but they can be quite annoying to deal with because they move around so fast and quite erratically as well. They're kind of buzzing about and things, so yeah, unpleasant. But this is the stingwing, and this is kind of what they look like. And say again, like all enemies in Fallout 4, there's loads of varieties from darters and glowing ones and things. So the ones that you encounter will be kind of dictated in part by your kind of level. So the higher your level, the more kind of nasty. But like all the other kind of insects that we've talked about, these guys do exist in groups. It's fairly common behaviour for insects in the real world as well. Most of these ones are not solitary in any kind of way, so you'll generally find them in groups, and they do tend to be, I say, sort of fairly close to water sources most of the time. But certainly in the glowing sea they are very, very common, except when you're trying to find them to record a video apparently, but they are quite common in the glowing sea, and they will pop up in a couple of other places as well, just to kind of give you a hard time, but they are, yeah, pretty creepy looking, to be honest. You know, they look kind of fairly well armour plated as well, with the kind of chitin, chitin, I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to pronounce that word, but you know, and then this kind of bulbous gland in the tail that presumably produces venom. I say that's something that these guys seem to have evolved, and their real world counterparts don't have that capability of producing venom, but the males do have this long tail and the sting at the end, which is obviously why they've been called the scorpion fly, because they have this tail that's very reminiscent of what a scorpion has, but you know, there's no actual scorpions that can fly, and these guys are insects, not arachnids, because they've got 6 legs, and that's the basic rule everybody knows, is that insects have 6 legs most of the time, and arachnids have 8. So we will be getting into that. I say the game, when it comes to like perks and things, the game tends to lump rad scorpions in with the insects, which is kind of makes sense. I mean, you know, there's a lot of kind of small parasites and things that come under the arachnid family, like ticks, being a common example. So, you know, and ticks often get lumped in with other kind of external parasites like fleas, which are insects and things. So they do kind of, you can categorise them together to some degree anyway, so it kind of makes sense that rad scorpions will be classified. Just we'll keep that under the kind of entomology side of things, and then we've got the mirelurks to look at, but they are going to need a series of kind of videos on their own, I think, because there's a lot to kind of discuss when it comes to them. But this is the Stingwings. I say they're very, very creepy looking. I don't know if I like this long kind of face, almost like a, honestly I would say it actually almost looks like a horse skull or something. That's quite creepy. Yeah, don't like it. Don't like these guys, so I'm afraid. But yeah, there you go. This is quite a good scope. So you can see their jaws, and then they've got these compound eyes. So it's basically like one big eye made up of lots of little ones that somehow process the information. And insects must see the world very differently to how we do. I know some of them can actually see ultraviolet light, whereas we can't see ultraviolet light. We can see things affected by ultraviolet light, but we can't actually see ultraviolet light. But I know bees can, and I'm pretty sure there's other insects that can. You know, and because the way their eyes are just built so differently to ours, you know, and they often have these antennae, which are part of their kind of sense organs, because you can even, you can't run these guys, but yeah, the antennae are part of the kind of sense organs for a lot of insects, picking up pheromones and things. And there's some animals that have the ability to pick up infrared as well. I'm going to be putting together some resources for authors on, you know, animals for the real world to help with world building, and even to help with, you know, potentially creating new creatures that are kind of believable. So if you look at sort of pythons, particularly, if you look at their faces, you'll see these kind of pits along the mouth, and those are able to pick up infrared signals, essentially detecting body heat. So it's a way, it allows the snake to hunt even when visibility is poor, because they can detect the body temperature of the small rodents and things that they tend to eat. So you know, it's quite a useful skill. And insects are kind of the same way, that, you know, we know some of them can actually see ultraviolet light. We know, you know, that they respond to things differently, and their senses and things are just so different to ours. So it's quite interesting, but yeah, there we go. So that's us covered stingwings. We will move on next time. I think we'll look at doing bloatflies as well. I say depending on how long this video is, I might join it together because there's still blood bugs to do as well, the mosquitoes, so we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope this has been interesting for you, and anything particular that you want me to cover soon, anything like that, any feedback is absolutely welcome, and I'm always happy to chat in the comments. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.